Israel, so well organized intelligence, so well organized, security apparatus, everything. What happened? How they let these people go in, go on a rampage for hours? How it happened?
Well,
And
there's a
who should be responsible for that? Israelis wouldn't ask this question very soon.
Oh, they're already asking. They're blaming Netanyahu. I mean, the polls that we've seen since this attack suggest that an overwhelming number of Israelis are blaming Netanyahu for this. And so it clearly happened on his watch. There was clearly a massive intelligence failure. And prior to that, he was engaged in dividing Israel. It wasn't an issue of Israeli versus Palestinian or Israel versus Hamas. He was pitting Israelis against Israelis because of his efforts to, quote, overhaul, reform the judiciary, which was basically a way for him to protect himself from any prosecution. And then his alignment with clearly far-right extremist groups. And I mean, these are the people who are in his cabinet share the thinking of those who were behind the assassination of former Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin after he signed the Oslo Accords with Yasser Arafat. These are the same people who, are what we call far right. And so all of this isn't something that affected only the Israeli public. It also affected the IDF. And so if you have this kind of chaos in the country, and your intelligence and security services are stretched because Israel is focused on Iran, its nuclear program, it's penetrating Iran's internally with the elimination of so many nuclear scientists, with the damage to nuclear facilities inside Iran. So you have the Israeli security establishment focusing on that. You have the Israeli security establishment making sure that because Assad is now a vassal of the Iranians, that the Iranians aren't able to do as they please in Syria, which is on the northern border of Israel. So you have to interdict, any movement by Iranian forces or allied forces. Then you have Hezbollah in Lebanon. You're worried about the West Bank because President Mahmoud Abbas of the Palestinian Authority is 87. And
yes, and so much corruption and all that,
corruption, and the fact that he's unpopular, the fact that there are so many divisions within the PA and the ruling Fatah party and the broader PLO movement. So there's just so much on their plate. So that's one cause. The other cause is there's no intelligence service in the world that can operate in a red alert mode indefinitely, 24/7, 365. So somewhere you drop the ball. Then there is the phenomenon of falling in love with your analysis. So it's not like they didn't have intel. I'm sure when the investigation is complete, we will find out that there were signs that this was about to happen. We're already hearing from the Egyptians. They passed on some information.
That's true. That's true.
They passed on information. How it was received, we just don't know yet. But my experience tells me that there will be a determination that we had the intelligence, but we didn't analyze it properly. And so there are many reasons for why this happened. And let's face it, a small group that is more agile, is more likely to be able to find loopholes in an entity that's far bigger,
Mhm.
And therefore exploit those vulnerabilities and conduct these kind of operations. So it's surprising, but the thing that I'm surprised about is not that they attacked. I'm surprised about the massive, if you will, spike in tradecraft. Because keep in mind, Hamas since 2008, for 15 years, its
Yeah,
MO is rocket attacks.
yeah,
This was a sophisticated operation, and then training for it and preparing for it.
yeah.
I mean, this is a huge logistical undertaking. And so doing that while not being detected, that's the surprise. Because intelligence agencies make mistakes, even the best ones. But the fact that they did not allow themselves to be detected, that is a tradecraft that we've not seen from Hamas.
That's true. That's true.
So someone helped them.
Mhm. Yeah, well, that's true. But the question then comes that, like after all this retaliation of Israel, don't you see it that this problem is which was slowly moving towards some solution, having good relations between Arab countries and Israel. And of course, once that would happen, then more ways open for Palestinians also. And then things would get better and better over time. But now with this type of retaliation, do you really see any hope, or like these how it's gonna play in coming days?
So let's just say that for now, and for the foreseeable future, the kind of settlement that the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was trying to achieve with Israel is going to be extremely difficult. But one should never say never. And the reason I say that is there is and you won't see them saying this publicly, but there is a convergence of interest. There's a shared interest between the Arab states and Israel to make sure that Hamas does not continue to rule Gaza. Now, I'm not saying that they'll be successful in toppling their government. That's a different story. But I'm telling you what their imperative is. And they also have an imperative, a shared imperative, to make sure that Iran cannot continue to exploit the situation. And so now let's get to the part where, well, how do you do this? There is just no way, I will repeat this, that any Israeli government will say, well, we're not going to do something. We're not going to retaliate, or we're not going to respond to this. Because it creates a political crisis in Israel. B, it sends the wrong message to the other side that basically Hamas can do whatever it wants and Iran can do whatever it wants, because Israel will not respond because it's fearful of killing civilians. The Iranians and Hamas are using Palestinians as cannon fodder and for their agenda. So it's, again, a very difficult situation. I just don't see them, saying we can't. But then the question is, how do you do this? Is like a very, very how do you do surgery? This is like a difficult surgery. How do you remove Hamas and make sure that innocent Palestinian civilian lives are not lost, or at least, they're kept to a minimum? And part of the reason why is that Hamas's MO is to operate in population centers. I mean, this is well known. Where are they firing these rockets from? Is it some military base that they have? Or, I mean, neither do they just limit their attacks on Israeli military targets. nor do they themselves distinguish their areas of operation from population centers. So if you're Israel, what do? It's an extremely difficult situation, and one can only realize this if one sort of contains the emotions. So whether you're Israeli or whether you're pro-Israeli or pro-Palestinian, you have to set those emotions aside in order to understand just the sheer magnitude of the crisis and the magnitude of the conundrum.
That's true. End of the day, we want all the innocent Palestinians, innocent Israelis are all safe and sound. I mean, they are just in the crossfire between two factions, which is going on for ages now, and that has to be concluded in peaceful way, which I don't see anything happening in coming months or even coming years. Just last question, Dr. Bukari. With whatever happening there in Palestinians, between Palestinian and Israelis, I mean, it is now going up or going down, only time will tell. How you see the whole world, because see, every capital in the West, in the East, in the Arab countries was shaken by this incidents happening there. How you see it, it will impact in coming days on the world peace in general.
So look, because of this attack and because of this crisis in the Middle East, the Ukraine war has fallen off the media radar. Not that it's not going on, it is, and that is the main war. This is in terms of just sort of scope. This is still a limited, hopefully this is still a limited conflict. Ukraine is a much bigger conflict because Russia cannot allow NATO to be in Ukraine, and NATO and the United States cannot allow Russia to be in Ukraine, because then there's sort of, you're only so many miles from Poland, which is a NATO member state. So that's the real war. That was what the world was focused on, at least the United States and its allies. And now they're having to deal with this. And I think that this works well for the agenda of Putin. The Chinese are probably, actually not probably, but very likely, most likely, I would even say, definitively, are taking comfort from the fact that the United States has its hands full with another crisis, and they wish to exploit this and are exploiting it. So this isn't something just happening between Gaza and Israel, or Israel and Hamas, or Israeli Palestinians, or Arabs and Israelis. This thing has implications for broader international security, because of the way the various stakeholders are able to exploit the situation to their advantage, or at least try to. So we're in a very precarious state. I mean, I can see Putin basically telegraphing the Biden White House that, look, looks like you have another war on your hands, and we can be helpful. You can't talk to Hamas, and you can't talk to Iran. We can, but it's not going to be for free. In exchange, we want you to do a quid pro quo on Ukraine, and get Zelensky to accept the fact that we're not going to return the territories that we have. So we have a settlement.